Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, the real _ G Warner. This is a soccer episode. I know there's a lot of NFL, college basketball things coming out on the feed, but just staying tried and true to our Betting the Pitch roots. Here is a weekend soccer podcast going over the top 5 European soccer leagues or 5 of the top 6. We'll pick a best bet from each of the leagues and come out with an ultimate best bet, which I'll put on Instagram and YouTube and all these places. So if you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're on Instagram or I guess subscribe there too. If you're on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. Huge for the search rankings. And anything you write on there, as soon as I see it, I will read it. Nice, mean, sad, happy. Tell me to bet an over if you want. Maybe I'll get there someday. Feel free to slide in there. If you're not a member of my Patreon yet, check out patreon.com. That's a real _ G Warner. Become a patron. Best spot, best bang for your buck. Get all my plays in one place at a fairly reasonable monthly price. Also, thank you for all my supporters on pregame. It's been a great start in college basketball season there, 4-0. Can't imagine I'm going to stay undefeated forever, but we had a good upturn lately in performance, and I'm hoping to keep that going. So all lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. There's a referral link in the podcast description wherever you're watching, which could get you 50% bonus for a first-time deposit. Also, if you are not yet at sportsbetting.ag, probably the best bonus that we're offering, or at least that I'm linking in my podcast description, is a double your money up to $500. So if I were you, I'd get another out. I'd put $500 in sportsbetting.ag, follow the link in my description, and go win some money with their money, I think is the best way to put it. So let's get into this. We'll start in England. This is a first look episode, as I have not looked at any lines yet. Been a long journey coming back to catching up to what I missed while I was in Italy, but we're back. We're live. Let's go into it. We'll start with Wolves hosting Tottenham, the early one in England. Wolves a quarter goal underdog at home. Over under is 3, juiced all the way to under. From my perspective, Tottenham, I mean, I think from anyone's perspective, that Monday match was wild. Seeing 2 guys sent off, plenty of injuries as well. Doesn't look like James Maddison will be back for this one. Romero suspended. Destiny Udogie is suspended as well. Tottenham were not always the deepest squad. Yes, they got a lot of money for Harry Kane, but late in the window didn't really have a ton of time to use it. I imagine they might be some additions at during the January window, but they're going to be aggressive. They're going to go for it, and they're going to leave that back line wide open. I mean, we saw what they were doing against Chelsea, down to 9 men, still playing literally all their players, one in the attacking zone half in Youngmin Son, and then also the other, I guess it would be 7 because there's a goalkeeper in that 9. Other 7 within 7 yards of midfield. Didn't really work very well, but they were in it. The broadcast is saying how much pride there must be in Tottenham. I guess there's some pride in 2 guys getting sent off. Ridiculous challenge from Udogie, especially with only 10 men at that point already. But I'm not really a believer. Wolves continue to get screwed by late second penalty kicks or just penalties in general. Gary O'Neill, like I feel like someday he's on a watch. He might just make sure everyone's out of the building, but then ransack, destroy, drive a car through the PGMOL or whatever they call the officials in England's offices, because that guy gets screwed more than anybody, whether it was at Bournemouth or now in this new job at a bigger club, as he called it, at Wolves. Regardless, I'm into Wolves getting that quarter of a goal. I don't know that I necessarily want to get involved in the total, though. 3 feels pretty big in England, I gotta say. It doesn't feel big in Germany at this point, but Wolves getting that quarter, and I like the 3 as well. Moving next to the big window of Saturday matches at Crystal Palace hosting Everton. Currently Crystal Palace a quarter goal favorite. And it looks like they have all the juice on Everton on the road. Over under is 2.25, juiced all the way to under. Everton started to score some goals and looked like a team that might be out of their Sean Dyche underways. I'm not sure I'm completely convinced by it, to be frank. And they're facing one of the best under teams in English Premier League. And we see a total as low as 2.25 because of that. But Crystal Palace ultimately a really slight home favorite because they can't really score goals. So great defense at home, should play a lot better there. Get a team that hasn't really always been great offensively, or at least for the last few seasons. I think that does put a lot of things together and make it under a reasonable look for this one. I don't know that I like the quarter of a goal as much on the road. I feel like I'd kind of want more with Everton, and they have been scoring a fair amount. But I think under 2.25 is my biggest interest there. Might fall to 2, and then I'll probably skip. Manchester United then hosts Luton Town. Currently, Manchester United, that is a 1.5 goal favorite. Juices split. Over under is 3. Juiced all the way to over. Overs with Manchester United don't make sense. With Luton Town don't make sense. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to make my card. I love the push on 3 right now, especially at even money. Because then if we end 2, we're getting more money than we put in, which would be very nice. But I think at plus 101 is current number. I don't know that I really want to back Luton Town. I think they're so inferior to the rest of the league that they play in. But they got a really good result in their last match. Could have even beaten Liverpool. Next, we'll go to Arsenal hosting Burnley. Currently, Arsenal a 2-goal favorite, coming off a pretty dominant effort against Sevilla in the Champions League. Only allowed 1 shot on target, and it was like at the end of the match when things were pretty much buttoned up. Questions, though, about the health of Saka, who is at least was limping off when I saw him last. I don't know if that was like an end of the match. He's going to come off anyway. I was trying to waste some time, which thank you. That pretty much cemented an under. But I don't think that Burnley are really a side I want to back here, even getting 2 goals with Arsenal, with a ton of injury issues and a really low amount of available players, at least compared to their full squad. Do I like 3.25, the under there? I mean, Burnley are going to go try to defend, I would assume, at Arsenal. I don't know that's going to work really well for them, but I think from I guess I got to put under 3.25 because I can't imagine I made my number this large. I could look at it, but I feel like I don't want to sift through everything while we're doing this live. So I'll put Burnley under 3.25 on my list. It's very juiced right now. It falls to 3. I still like that push on 3, but I'm not sure it's going to make it to my card. Bournemouth then hosts Newcastle in the nightcap of, I guess this is the biggest one on Saturday somehow. Over under is 2.75, just a little bit to over, and Bournemouth a 3/4 goal under at home, if I haven't said it already. Newcastle, they've not been great in Champions League. It was a big step up for them to get there. I'm not sure necessarily that they're going to be around for too long in Champions League, but that group of death certainly tightened up with results this week. Bournemouth, they got smashed by Manchester City last time out. I thought it might be a good situation for them to play a really strong counterattacking brand of football because that's what they do. And that's what Andoni Iraola has always done ever since I've been following when he was manager at Rayo Vallecano. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily know that this is a great setup for Bournemouth, but they're going to play the same way. Even at home, crowds should be behind them. Newcastle have been incredibly inferior compared to their dominance at home. They've been a lot worse on the road. So for that reason, I guess I'm looking at Bournemouth. I want to see them get to a full goal of insurance before I play it, most likely. So I probably will not, unless we're seeing some big time injuries or something like that from the Newcastle front line, because we know Isak has been hurt. Callum Wilson came off a little bit early in Champions League. I don't know if that was a choice situation or if that was something that had to happen. But I guess I'll put Bournemouth under 2.75 on my list, and maybe I'll come back to the side as well, though I've just not been impressed by Bournemouth so far this season. Moving to Sunday, Brighton hosts Sheffield United. Currently, Brighton a 1.75 goal favorite, at home with almost all the juice. Over under is 3.25 with almost all the juice to over. Sheffield with a miraculous goal and then conceded an equalizer, and then got a penalty literally 2 minutes after stoppage time should have elapsed. And then one of the best penalties I've seen to win a match, especially no conservative, pragmatic play from Ollie McBurney or whoever, Ollie Norwood, I think it was. So many Ollies on one team, so little time. I think Brighton, they are starting to look like just a team that aren't really capable of balancing European competition. They're first, I think, as a club, and English Premier League play, and yet they're still installed as a 1.75 goal favorite. I'm waiting to see this hit too. I'm still not a believer in Brighton at this point. I'm looking to be against them as much as I can. So under 3.25 is probably my biggest interest. Yes, it's not really a great situation because Brighton are going to attack the whole time, but Sheffield United are going to be the opposite and are going to try to keep you from attacking. And when that total gets above 3 in any league that's not the Bundesliga in Germany, I probably should take a deeper look into it, because getting 3 goals in a 90-minute match, whether you're playing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, 21 minutes, I think is the high this season in stoppage time. I'm not sure that's enough to get there. Aston Villa then hosts Fulham. Currently Villa a 1-goal favorite at home with all the juice on Fulham on the road. Over-unders 2.75, juice a little bit to over. I'm kind of surprised this total, or excuse me, this spread is not higher than it is, and Fulham are getting a lot of respect. I mean, Aston Villa bouncing Europe's not great, but they've been awesome at home. Have been struggling a little bit on the road, but like I said, have been awesome at home. Fulham don't have any offense to compete with Aston Villa, really, I don't think. So for that reason, I'll lean to under 2.75, but I'm not really looking to fade Aston Villa at home, or at least fade their offense with an under. Liverpool then hosts Brentford. Current Liverpool, 1.25 goal favorite with more of the juice. Over-unders 3.25, juiced a little bit more towards under. Brentford with a huge comeback victory at home against West Ham last weekend. It was kind of incredible, but own goals when you're behind to equalize are a big deal, and certainly change matches. I think Liverpool have been constantly overvalued, and we saw that literally having to fight back to equalize against the lowest budget team in the Premier League last weekend. Yes, on the road, but not great. Liverpool had to play Europe midweek. Brentford have kind of looked a lot better ever since the last international break, when I think people were panicking a little bit about, oh man, they really don't have Ivan Toney, but they've been scoring goals. It takes them a few chances to get the ball in the net, of course, but that's what happens when you're a low budget side. I think Brentford getting that goal in a quarter is a lot. I love that they can lose and still cover. I think in terms of the under, I also lean that way too, because it's above 3. Though I've been kind of a little bit more scared off of Liverpool under so far this season, because they haven't really looked like they want to defend, even with Rabo out of the lineup and opting for Joe Gomez. Excuse me, I tried to make him Portuguese, but I was surprised Tsimikas didn't start last weekend. I imagine he will this time, because they want to get some more offense out there, which might impact that total a little bit more. West Ham then hosts Nottingham Forest. West Ham currently a 0.5 goal favorite with more of the juice. Over-unders 2.75, juiced all the way to under, might be falling to 2.5. West Ham, I mean, they're playing a ton of matches. They're scoring way more goals than I think anyone expected them to this season. But I think that also comes with their defense not being as good. It's not a great combination for under, though Nottingham Forest have been a great under team lately. And they're going to go on the road, and they're going to try to sit deep and try to make this as hard as possible for West Ham, which West Ham are probably comfortable with that because they really want to score on set pieces, but they've been getting a lot more of open play goals this season. I'm not sure that's going to continue, though. So I'll put Nottingham Forest under 2.75 on my list. We'll see if that sticks around, because it doesn't look like it's going to get to 3. Last but not least, we got Chelsea hosting Manchester City. Currently Chelsea a 3/4 goal favorite with more of the juice. Over-unders 2.5, juiced all the way to over. Maybe this one climbs, and that makes me feel more and more interested in the under. I don't think that I want to back Chelsea here. I just don't think that they're a mature, strong enough side. They're just so young, and they've splashed so much money, and I feel like that it reminds me of the University of Texas, my alma mater in college football here in the United States, where unfortunately you get to a big club and then you relax. You're not the same kind of hungry type of guy that you were before, potentially. I don't know if that's the explanation, but it feels eerily similar, Chelsea and the University of Texas at Austin. But I feel like Chelsea are going to have a really tough time here with Manchester City, as everyone does. Man City coming off a midweek win against Young Boys, I believe. But I think going on the road is going to be tougher. Chelsea, I think they're most capable in defense as opposed to offense, so that helps under. And I think Man City have kind of been a little bit disappointing and have shown some flaws as of late. So I'll put Chelsea under 2.5 on my list right there. So for my best bet for England, I'm going to go with, I thought I had it. I was very confident about to say it. I'm going to go with that Nottingham Forest under 2.75. I just don't, I feel like eventually West Ham are going to return to this defensive side that really struggle to score goals, but we'll, I guess, see what happens there. Moving to Spanish La Liga, and of course, I'll summarize the 5 best bets for the 5 countries and pick an ultimate best bet end of show. Athletic Club hosts Celta de Vigo on a Friday match in Spain. We have nothing on Friday in England, if I didn't mention that. Athletic Club, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over-unders 2.75, juice a little bit to under. Athletic Club have been a 1 goal favorite when I've been watching it, so I guess this isn't my true first look, because I did look at Friday lines because had to be ready for what we're betting today. But Athletic Club, they've been scoring a ton more goals than I think anyone expected. I mean, I guess I'm sounding exactly like what I'm saying for West Ham. Normally a defensive side, but more of a physical one with a lot of speed and want to counterattack you with their pace. Celta Vigo, they've been really screwed lately. It's hilarious hearing their longtime captain, Iago Aspas, saying that if they had the penalty luck that all their opponents did, that they'd be in the Champions League places, which is hilarious for a team fighting relegation. But respect him and love that guy and hope he plays till he's 45 because I think he's 37 or something like that now. Anyway, 37-year-old Iago Aspas is going to try to score for Celta Vigo. I don't give him a lot of luck or expectation there. Under 2 3/4 looks way too high for me. Celta, when they go over, it seems to be miraculous. Athletic Club been scoring a lot. I expect that will return to status quo or reversion to the mean there. So I'll throw out that Celta under 2 3/4 on this Friday. We'll go next to Saturday morning. Rayo Vallecano hosts the table toppers Girona. Rayo currently a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. This one might close pick 'em, and I think that speaks to the belief that Girona are going to come back to earth, but they've stolen matches from big deficits. It's been pretty impressive, but I like Rayo at home on a small field, perfect for their counterattacking ways. They basically do the same stuff they were doing with Iraola with their new manager, who's definitely not. He's definitely a downgrade, but it's been working so far. As for the total, I'm looking to see this one climb even further. I like under 2.5. I think Girona have been scoring a lot of goals, and when they take leads, they're not going to defend. But ultimately, the setup of Rayo are going to put Girona in a position where they're going to have to be conservative with their attacks. And I think that's going to point to an under more so than over, especially Girona going on the road, a second straight match after falling behind at Osasuna, coming back and stealing a victory. I'm not sure that that's going to continue to happen. So I'm pretty interested in both the home team and the under there as well, the home dog and the underdog, home dog and the under total. Almeria then hosts Real Sociedad. Currently, Almeria a 3/4 goal underdog at home, a little bit more juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Almeria have gone through coaching change, bottom of La Liga. I don't think they've won yet. Played a really tough match with who was it? Alaves last weekend as a way bigger underdog than I think anyone would have expected for a newly promoted side versus a team that's been in La Liga for a second straight year. I think Almeria have morphed into a team that's going to really pay attention to their defense because it was awful to start the season. And I mean, basically, La Liga, they retread the same managers over and over again. It's kind of like the NFL or NBA, but it seems like they don't care about anyone being capable. I guess you could argue that's probably something that the NBA does as well. But Almeria is on another manager who's been around managing a bunch of teams. So I guess they're familiar and then everyone knows how to beat them is maybe the way to explain it. But Real Sociedad coming off Champions League, a Barcelona heartbreaking defeat at the last kick of the match, essentially. I expect Real Sociedad to really squeeze this game. It really depends how much they score to see if we hit this over. So I'll go under 2.5 as an interest. I think it's going to climb to 2 3/4. That would make me more interested, obviously. But it really depends. And Sociedad going into international break, like maybe they're going to push their guys and try to make them play again, but they might want to keep them healthy. So we'll see about a lineup there. Osasuna then hosts Las Palmas. Osasuna, half a goal favorite with almost all the juice on Las Palmas on the road. Over unders 2 1/4, juice all the way to under. This is a team or a game of two teams that I think I really like for unders. Osasuna had a last kick of the match loss. I mean, it seems like they've been stacking up against me, but a couple weekends ago at Real Betis, and then ultimately didn't have that sort of thing last weekend, but coughed up a pretty big lead against the top of the table, Girona. Now they're at home again in El Sadar. That's the place where they play the best. Fan base is huge. They got standing room only seats, which is like really unheard of after a lot of the disasters and crowds in Europe, but they still have it. So I guess good for them as long as everyone survives. Las Palmas on the other side, they're Barcelona-like and try to control the ball as much as they can. But they don't have a lot of goal scorers or finishers, and their best scorer is in a contract dispute and doesn't look like he's going to play for the club ever again. He's going to move in January. So Osasuna, they're a pretty big favorite, a half of a goal, considering they've been playing so poorly this season. I like Las Palmas getting that half of a goal, and I like under 2 1/4, though that might be a number we might lose. So I might need to lock that in ASAP. Granada then hosts Getafe. Currently Granada pick 'em with all the juice at home. Over unders 2 1/4, juice all the way to under. I'm waiting to see if Getafe move to a quarter goal underdog here. I'm impressed. I can't help it. I'm wearing their kit right now, mainly because I like the if you can see this on the video screen, the Tecno Casa advertisement, which I think is a housing company or something like that, but hilarious to me. Good brand of music if you're into that. Anyway, so Granada, they're fighting to try to stay in the league, newly promoted, have had terrible defense, terrible team in general. Every time it seems like their post-game interviews with Luca Boye, who's so disappointed because he got relegated last season with Elche, and I'm sure he's like, this is the exact same thing I'm going through now. With that said, Getafe they somehow won a match with 10 men, which is nice because it's very unlikely that Dakonam Janet is going to be suspended or actually he is not playing in this one, not eligible unless something got rescinded, which I can't imagine it would with his track record. So that's one of their biggest threats to get kicked out of a match, not in the team. So a very good chance that Getafe finishes match with 11. That'd be nice, especially if we're backing them. I think under 2.25 is interesting as well. Granada's defense will certainly leave that or will challenge that because they've been so bad. But I think Granada are going to struggle to score. Ryan Zaragoza is certainly the biggest threat in the pitch, and I imagine Getafe under Bordalas will have a plan to beat him up as much as they can. So I like Getafe. I'm going to wait to see if we get that quarter of a goal, which looks like it might trend there by the time this one kicks off on Saturday. Last but not least, on Saturday night, Real Madrid hosts Valencia. Currently, Real Madrid a 1.5 goal favorite. Over under is 3. Juiced all the way to under. A little bit more juice on Valencia on the road. Valencia have been awesome. I've really liked what I've seen from them. Young squad for sure, but they've been playing like the young talented team that they are. It's been a long rebuild, and they've certainly been far off the pace of where they used to be. But I like where they are right now. Real Madrid continue to disappoint and really have no offense with no striker. But they score a ton of goals by seemingly luck or maybe some maybe it's not luck because they're very talented, of course, but it just doesn't ever seem like they deserve what they get. So I like Valencia getting at 1.5 goals. I like under 3. Those are correlated. I'm not sure I want to play both of them because I think Valencia will probably try to stay in this game by scoring goals. Doesn't really help under, so I think it's one or the other for me. Moving to Sunday, we have Barcelona hosting Alaves. Currently, Barca a 1.75 goal favorite at home. More juice on Alaves on the road. Over under is 3, just a little bit to under. Alaves have been playing a lot better. This is a big test for them, though. I think I want to see a +2 before I want to get involved with them, but I do like under 3. Just don't believe in Barcelona. Awful performance midweek in Germany at Leverkusen against Shakhtar Donetsk, and really didn't deserve to beat Real Sociedad, but got very fortunate on a late run from a defender, central defender for a goal, and then, of course, their capitulation, collapse, whatever you want to call it. And then really hanging on for dear life against Real Madrid at home in El Clasico. Does not look good for Barcelona. And so I think under 3 is a good way for some good push value, potentially on a 3-0 loss. But I think Alaves keeps it closer than that and probably doesn't get on the scoreboard. So that probably points to under even more. Sevilla then hosts Real Betis in the derby. What is it? There's some, it's a Sevilla derby, whatever. I was thinking about the Spanish name, Derby, El Derby, maybe. They are very proud of that derby in Sevilla, and having been to both those stadiums, it should be rocking. Though it's hosted by Sevilla this time, and probably will be a very small contingent of Betis fans in that stadium. Sevilla quarter goal favorite with a little bit more juice. Over under is 2.5, just a little bit to over. Sevilla did nothing offensively at Arsenal in Champions League, which the broadcast is saying, why didn't they try in this matchup? And it wasn't just because of the derby this weekend, literally because they are at risk of not getting into Europa League because of how little they did offensively. With that said, that's kind of what Sevilla's offense has been so far this season. I'm not a believer. I think I'm most interested in under here. Betis have not shown much offensively either. It's a huge derby. Should be a very emotional match and should be very competitive. So I guess I'll put a quarter of a goal on my list as well, though I think Sevilla do deserve that for their home field here. So I like under 2.5, though. I think is my biggest interest in that one. And are we missing matches? Where the heck do all these matches go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there's one match missing. It looks like the early one on Sunday. I don't know why BetOnline doesn't have it up, but I'll go find with that one after I finish this one. So Atletico Madrid hosts Villarreal. Currently, Atleti a 1.5 goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Villarreal on the road. Over under 3.25 juice all the way to under. This is probably a skip actually because Villarreal are in a real something storm and have been playing poorly. The crowd hates them. I guess it's probably better they're on the road. Atleti have been really good at home, thrashed Celtic midweek, thanks to probably playing against 10 men and a bad team in general. But ultimately, even under 3.25 is a gigantic number, but Villarreal's defense might give up 4 themselves. So I'm not sure there's anything I want to do in that one. Let's see if I can find that other match, because I didn't hear about any postponements. That would be weird if there were. It's probably Mallorca Cadiz that I haven't mentioned yet. I made Mallorca a slight favorite at home, probably in the quarter to a half goal region, and then the total I made a little bit over 2. So I'll look to under there. I don't know where the heck that number is at right now, but we'll see what happens and try to find that maybe later. Or stay tuned, sign up, become a patron, patreon.com, just _G Warner, and you'll probably see a play on that one, because I do like under. Next, we'll go to, or I guess I got to give my best bet from Spain, and then we'll move to Italy. So for Spain, my best bet, I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Las Palmas under 2.25 goals. I just, it's just really hard to see any goals in that matchup. So I'm going to go under there. Moving now to Italy. We missed one match that was early on Friday. I don't know why they're doing that going into an international break, but whatever. I guess they really want matinee viewers or early evening viewers in Italy. Genoa hosts Verona in the first matchup on Friday that hasn't kicked off. Genoa, a half a goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over unders 2, juice a little bit to under. Genoa, they were disappointing at Cagliari on the road. They haven't really had the ability to keep up their great start to La Liga, to Serie A. Spain's on the brain. I guess it happens when you're wearing a jersey, but I think Genoa are a great offense that are going to have some fits and some starts, some ups and some downs, some peaks and some valleys. Verona have no offense to whatever to speak of. So I don't really want to do anything with the side there. I think the total at 2 is very low, but it's low enough to keep me away from an under. Moving to Saturday, Lecce hosts AC Milan. Currently Lecce 3/4 goal favorite at home. Almost all the juice on Milan on the road. Over unders 2.25, juice all the way to over. And this is a great spot to fade Milan off of a huge Champions League result, beating PSG at home, coming from behind. Milan still didn't look great in that matchup, I felt, and really have looked bad for about a month or so. It's amazing the peaks and valleys that Milan go through. Maybe they're rising to a peak, but I think I need to see a lot more from it. They've got a lot of injuries they're dealing with, and I just don't really believe in what I've seen from them. Lecce on the other side took a lead at Roma and then gave up 2 stoppage time goals. And honestly, I was nervous they might give up another one before the game finished out. Just couldn't handle Romelu Lukaku up front. Different issue and you figure with Bashirotto that might have been a guy that could handle him, but they did for 90 something minutes. But he did miss a penalty, or penalty was saved. Lukaku did, but ultimately I think there's one stage at the end after Roma had equalized where they ended up getting Lukaku on the other defender who wasn't as big, and he basically made him his prison friend, as maybe a better way to say that. Try not to swear for the kids that are all listening to the gambling podcast, Anyway, Lecce, I think getting that 3/4 of a goal is interesting. I'm waiting to see if we get to that full 1. I also like under 2.25, because I don't think there's a lot of goals in this matchup. I think it's gonna be very, very slow, quiet, and I think Milan are going to struggle keeping up their form after putting all their eggs in that PSG basket to try to get off the bottom of their Champions League group. Juve then hosts Cagliari. Juventus, a 1.25 goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4, juice all the way to under. Maybe this falls to 2.5. I'll be waiting to see that, because Juve unders have been probably my lifeblood at this point. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but Cagliari, they're going to go in and try to defend, newly promoted, that got a big victory, comeback win against Frosinone, and I think won against Genoa last weekend. So huge wins against newly promoteds like themselves. This is not a newly promoted Juventus, though, however, and one that isn't playing in Europe. Juve are going to take a lead and likely sit in the game, and we got 2 goals to play with as opposed to normal just 1. So I like that. Moving now to Saturday night, we have Monza hosting Torino. Currently Monza a 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice on Torino on the road. Over unders 2.25, just fairly heavily to under. Torino have not looked great offensively for years now. Rumors that Ivan Juric, their manager, is going to move on, and maybe sooner rather than later, because he's fighting or beefing with their front office. Seems like a normal thing for him everywhere he goes. Happened to Verona, I think, as well. Regardless, Torino are a better team, bigger team, and they're getting a 1/4 goal. So I like that, even though it's on the road at Monza. Monza have not really been as impressive to me. They beat the bad teams, which is good, and that's what you do to stay in the league. But Torino's better than them, and I think giving a quarter of a goal, yes, at home is nice, but I'm not sure they have as big of a home field advantage as a lot of teams in Europe do. I guess I lean to 2.25, the under there a little bit, but Monza are not going to be playing for under, so that does worry me a little bit. Though Torino don't really score much, so. Maybe I like that too. I got to put that on the list. Great. Okay. Next, go to Sunday. We have the early matchup. Napoli hosting Empoli. Currently, Napoli 1.75 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 3.25. Juice all the way to over. Empoli was basically a dead under on Monday and came back and scored a goal really late and then nearly equalized after falling behind 2-0. Brutal for the underbackers like myself, but they're going to go on the road and try to keep it as low scoring as possible. I don't believe in Napoli's offense. It's been a huge downgrade from last season, and really haven't been anywhere near as good as they were in maybe January of 2023 when this year started. I don't really want to back Empoli, even though it looks like they're going to get 2 goals at some point soon. I think my biggest interest there is under 3.25. Next, we'll go to Fiorentina hosting Bologna. Currently, Fiorentina 0.5 goal favorite at home with all the juice. On Bologna on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to under almost. Bologna have been playing better lately. Fiorentina have not been scoring at all, have Europe to bother them or to waste time in, as they had a lopsided victory 2 match days ago and then had to play the same team. I think maybe it was at home, might have been on the road, whatever. Regardless, I like Bologna getting that 0.5 goal. It's very juiced at the moment. It might not stick around for too long. I'm going to put Bologna getting that 0.5 goal on my list, though, because I think that's a really good spot to catch Bologna playing a lot better football than Fiorentina. And I guess under 2.5 is also interesting because, like I said, Fiorentina, the home favorite, are not really scoring goals right now. Udinese then hosts Atalanta, coming off a huge upset win at Milan. I think it was their first win of the season as well, already on their second manager. Udinese, a 0.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5 and is juiced a little bit to under. Atalanta are a much better side. Udinese, really, I'm not going to overreact to a shock win at Milan. Good opportunity for them to get smoked here by Atalanta, who've been playing really well, and I don't really want to play unders with Atalanta, any Gasparini side. Moving to the Stadio Olimpico for the Roma, the derby, the Eternal City, or whatever we're calling it. Lazio, a pick'em right now with all the juice on Roma on the road. Lazio being the home team will have almost all the seats, so that's a big deal. Over under is 2.25. Juiced very heavily to under. And it should be, because there are no goals in Lazio matches at all. Roma have been really struggling to score as well, despite Dybala coming back and then Lukaku looking like he's getting into form. I think Lukaku is it's always a big threat, and I mean, him on the pitch is probably worth it. He did play in Europe midweek at Slavia Prague, and they started a pretty good lineup, but were pretty undervalued, or at least market really liked the home team Slavia Prague more so than Roma. So that says something to me, but I think under 2.25 is my biggest interest, though it's very juiced at the moment. I don't think I'll play under 2. Next, we'll go to, as I type in that interest, Inter hosting Frosinone. This last match of Sunday. Inter a 2-goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over under 3.5, all the way juiced to under. Frosinone, it was a really nice run, me and Frosinone, but they have not really been succeeding on that same level lately. I don't know that I really want to play against Inter Milan. I think I've learned the hard way betting against them over the years, so I'm not really that interested there, I'll admit. And I don't know that that's necessarily anything I want to do for my best bet either. So let's see, for Italy, before we move on to the Bundesliga, for my best bet in Italy, I'm going to take that Bologna that getting a 0.5 goal on the road. I think that they're playing a lot better than Fiorentina at the moment. Moving to the Bundesliga, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach on Friday hosting VfL Wolfsburg. Currently, Gladbach a 0.25 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Wolfsburg on the road. Over unders 3.25. Juice very heavily to under. I'm trying to quit Bundesliga unders because they have, I mean, the most amazing defense I know is bad in the league. Everyone knows that compared to the other big leagues. But the amount of overperformance of XG on goal numbers, I feel like one of the unders I did win last week with Köln and Augsburg had like 45 shots, which is literally unexpected. Probably the furthest thing from expectation. And that stayed under, but all these other matches that have like a 1.5 XG score 5. So I've been struggling there, I'll admit. Wolfsburg, I've been struggling with them as well. They've, knocked out Leipzig in the cup, which was completely unexpected. And then fresh off of losing to Augsburg and then just playing really bad matches, surrendering 2 goals, equalizers to Werder Bremen, and Niko Kovac just looking like he's losing his mind on the sideline. They've been really disappointing. I do like them, though, getting a quarter of a goal on the road at Borussia Mönchengladbach. I just not really sure where to go with that one, I'll admit, and this one starts pretty soon. From I guess a totals point, I do like the under 3.25 as well. I think it's too high for two teams that don't really score very well. Gladbach coming off a match that they had won, I think, and eventually 3-1 lead, maybe even 3-0 lead, ended up in a 3-3 draw at Freiburg, where they haven't won in like 20 something years. Moving to Saturday, Augsburg, a pick 'em at home to Hoffenheim. Currently, Augsburg with all the juice right now at home, over under 3.25, juiced very heavily to under. Hoffenheim have been a great road team. I'm looking to back them if they climb above pick. I think Augsburg, their manager has been a nutcase, and their new manager, second of the season, is being very, very aggressive. I don't know that that's going to really work for them. They've been getting some results from it. I think Hoffenheim are a much better team and they'll take advantage of that, but I don't have that quarter of goal yet. I do like under 3.25 because I just think that's too high for an Augsburg side, especially as a slight home favorite. Bayern Munich then hosts Heidenheim, currently Bayern a 3-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 4.5 and it's juiced all the way to under. Bayern are too hard to fade right now. Don't want anything to do with that. Moving next to Darmstadt hosting Mainz. Currently Darmstadt a quarter goal underdog at home with more of the juice. Over under is 2.75. Juice is split. Mainz is a huge upset win, first win of the season, coming off the bottom of the table. I think they might still be there. A new manager came in from their youth team. Poor Bo Svensson. I mean, as soon as he leaves, the team wins. Amazing. But Darmstadt are a team I'm looking to back a little bit more. They had a home game right before. Weird that they had two home games in a row. But anyway, I thought outplayed Bochum, but ended up losing the match. Brutal for them and tough because it brings a relegation fighter back in towards them, especially because Darmstadt are newly promoted. With that said, Mainz on the road as a favorite doesn't really compute to me. They're not a good offensive team. They haven't really showed good defense this year. With that said, I like a total under 2 and under 3 is pretty low, and I think that's the market saying they don't expect a lot of goals in this one. So I like home dog and under. Stuttgart then hosts Borussia Dortmund, currently a pick 'em, more juice than Stuttgart at home. Over under is 3.25, juice all the way to under. Stuttgart have been good for unders ever since Guirassy got hurt. Don't think he's coming back, or this line might be Stuttgart a favorite. Dortmund have, been great in Champions League, at least against Newcastle, but winning both those legs home and away, I think. But I think I'm looking to be against Dortmund. I don't think they're a very good team, and they're priced like they're a very good one. So Stuttgart, though, I'd pick them minus money or with more of the juice right now is not probably going to make it for my card. My biggest interest right now, based on current numbers, is under 3.25. Moving next to Bochum and Köln. Currently, Bochum and Pick'em at home with all the juice. Over is 2.75, juice the over. Another match that I don't know how they get to 3 goals. I've been proven wrong plenty so far, and for some reason, I guess this is considered a derby for Bochum because Köln is not too far away, but Köln has like 3 other teams they consider rivals more, and probably more in other leagues. But anyway, Köln, they've not shown any offense. Bochum, much better team at home because their defense plays better. I think under 2.75 is interesting to me in that one. Bayer Leverkusen on Sunday then hosts Union Berlin. Leverkusen a 1.5 goal favorite, gigantic number. Over under is 3, and that looks like it is used fairly heavily to under. Not heavily, just juiced a little bit to under. I think Union are just an under team at this point. I'm not backing them as an underdog, and it's really sad because they were a team I pretty much backed every time they were an underdog for the last 2 or 3 seasons. That is not the case anymore. Things have been going from bad to worse for them. And we got 2 more matches to go. Werder Bremen hosts Eintracht Frankfurt. Bremen a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.75, juiced to the over side. Frankfurt have been playing really well. Werder Bremen are a team I want to be against, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to do anything with the side here. I think my interest is under 2.75, but I really hope a 3 pops because I've not really had a lot of luck with even 2.75. All my matches seem to be dead unders, and they land 3, so I lose half of a bet in this German Bundesliga. Last but not least, Leipzig hosts Freiburg. Currently, Leipzig a 1.25 goal favorite with more of the juice on Freiburg on the road. Over under is 3 with more juice to over. Freiburg barely have been filling out a team. It feels like they've been playing players, but I mean, normally a team that wants to rotate, and they've not been able to do that whatsoever. And I think that's how you explain why performances have been so poor. at least versus expectations. I think Leipzig are a great home team that are going to control this matchup. And Freiburg haven't looked great as an underdog away. So, and really haven't looked great against Leipzig in the past either, even though I think the first match I ever watched that got me into, I guess, following Freiburg was a late Robin Koch goal to equalize to draw. Right at stoppage time. I think during the peaks of COVID when the only sport on was the Bundesliga, and now I do a podcast on soccer. But I think my interest in that one is under 3. Just not really believing much in a Freiburg offense, not really thinking Leipzig get to 3 against a good Freiburg defense, and then hoping this one ends 1-0 or 1-1 or something like that. So for my best bet from Germany before we get to France, I think my biggest interest is probably against that Mainz road favorite. But I think I'll go under 2 3/4 because I think Mainz are unlikely to contribute too much to that score line. If they get 1, it's going to be really hard for it to go over unless Darmstadt get 2 themselves, the home underdog. I think a lot of that points in the under direction. So I'll go Darmstadt under 2 3/4 is my best bet in Germany. And last but not least, we'll go to French League, which I think I swept last week. So we're going to keep that going as much as freaking possible. Montpellier, currently a quarter goal underdog at home today on Friday against Nice, who are top of the table, I think undefeated still in Liga in France. Over under is 2.5, choose very heavily to under. That's my interest because Nice are not likely to concede. They've been doing great at keeping clean sheets. Montpellier at home, great, or much better offense, I think, than I would normally want to play an under against, but I don't think Nice are going to score a lot either. There are some questions about Montpellier defense, though, so it might be wise to just wait till Saturday to put my unbeaten record on the line. Just trying to keep streaking as much as possible, like we're going through the quad. Anyway, Reims then hosts PSG on Saturday. Currently, Reims, one of the best stories since midway last season, whenever Will Still showed up. They're a 1-goal underdog at home to PSG. Over-under is 3, just a little bit to under. Reims have been scoring a lot, so that makes the under a little bit less interesting, but I think that's still on my list. I love Reims getting a full goal from PSG coming off midweek. Probably are disappointed, but you never know with the motivation with PSG. And they're still fighting to take this league, but they're more interested in Champions League. And I wonder if the downtrodden nature from a really poor performance at Milan, it really wasn't that poor, but the result was. Next, go to Le Havre hosting Monaco. Currently, Le Havre a 3/4 goal underdog at home, a little bit more of the juice. Over under is 2 3/4, juice to under. Le Havre have been really competitive, and they've really morphed from the possession dominant Ligue 1, the Ligue 2 champion from last season. Now they're giving the ball away. They're more pragmatic. I think they're competitive here, but I want to see probably that I get a +1 before I play this. I don't want to play unders with Monaco whatsoever. I probably made have a little bit smaller of an underdog though, so I'll put 3/4 on my list. Potential best bet opportunities. Moving next to Sunday, we'll go for the last day of the weekend, and then we'll get ultimate best bets at the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Clermont Foot, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. That Lorient over under is 2 1/4, 2.25. And that is juice to the over. Two teams that don't really have a lot of scoring opportunities or ability. Lorient's defense has really been shored up after looking awful for about a month or so. I like Lorient on the road. A quarter is probably low to me, but it looks like this might climb to a half. I think under 2 1/4 is very interesting to me, though, on a team or a game that might finish goalless. I think a lot of Clermont Foot matches do, unless they get a penalty, maybe are more likely to at home, but that doesn't mean they need 3 of them to get an over here. Lille then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Lille 1-goal favorite at home, a little bit more of the juice. Over under is 2 3/4, juice heavily to under. Lille have been awesome. I'm not looking to be against them. Toulouse are trying to balance after winning the Coupe de France, a European season that they didn't really deserve based on their form in the league. I think they're really just trying to stay in, and that's going to be hard to do. Nothing for me on that one. Metz then hosts Nantes. Currently, Metz have pick them at home with all the juice in the road team, Nantes. And Metz have been playing better than that. I'm hoping this is going to hit a quarter of a goal, but I do like home dogs getting odds on pick 'em, so I like that idea. They've been draws the last 2 matches as a home underdog to Le Havre, and then also as a 1-goal road underdog to Lyon. I think Mets are again underpriced, and I love it. Under 2.5 is interesting to me there as well. I don't think either of these teams are expected to score a lot of goals. Rennes then hosts Lyon. Currently, Rennes a 3/4 goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over under 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. Lyon are a team I want to be against as much as possible. Rennes have not been playing well. I don't really know because Lyon are not a defensive side, but I'm going to wait to see if this one hits the 3 to see potentially if I want to get involved there. And then looks like last but not least, and then we'll wrap this up with an ultimate best bet. Lens, a quarter goal favorite at home with more of the juice on Marseille. On the road, over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Put it this way, Lens are, to me, they're going to try to push. They're going to have a huge crowd behind them. Maybe a quarter of a goal is not enough to back Marseille, but I feel like they're decent. Less rest, though, unfortunately, had to play on the road, I think, at Athens and Greece. So there's a lot stacked against Marseille right now, even though Lens are not exactly the same team that I liked in the past. I don't really know that I have that big of an interest in the total here either. So that might be a pretty easy one for me to potentially get away from. So for my best bet for France, and then I'll tie this all up, put it in the oven, and then upload on the various streaming platforms so you can listen to them. I'm going to go with, let's see. I'm going to go with that Mets under 2.5. I just feel like neither of those teams are likely to score much. So for the ultimate best bet, we'll get to that in 1 second. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review. It'd be huge for search rankings. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. That would be awesome to get as many people. So, as soon as that episode's coming out, that you can go and sign up for it or download it or whatever you're doing. Go listen. Stay tuned on the podcast. We have College Basketball Need for Seeds podcast coming out every Wednesday night. Plus, we have the NFL podcast that should be Tuesday nights going forward, as we were earlier in the season with my buddy Andrew Schnicker. Line moves, best bets, of course, on all podcasts. And then if you're not a member of my Patreon yet, just check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. I know a lot of people are subscribing on various platforms. Of course, there'll still be a pregame, but check out patreon.com. A more, I think, interactive type of performance or service or whatever you want to call it, subscription service. So check that out, patreon.com/thereal_G Warner. So this is Betting the Pitch, this episode for whatever number for the weekend of European soccer. And this is 5 best bets from the European top soccer leagues. Then we'll also come up with an ultimate best bet and get out of here. So for the English Premier League, we have Nottingham Forest under 2.75 goals. In Spain, we have Las Palmas under 2.25. In Serie A, we'll go Bologna, a half a goal underdog. In Ligue, in the Bundesliga, Darmstadt under 2.75 goals. And last but not least, in Ligue 1, we'll go with Football Club Metz under 2.5 goals. And for my best bet, after an undefeated Ligue 1 weekend last weekend, I'm going to go with that Metz under 2.5, as I feel like Metz, a great home dog, newly promoted, have been really competitive this season. It's hard to expect them to score a lot of goals ultimately, and the market has certainly reflected that. But you can say the same thing about Nantes, who've really struggled to stay in the league for a bunch of years. So go under 2.5 goals. And I like the home dog there as well. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. As always, really appreciate all the support. Leave a 5-star review. It'd be huge to get up the search rankings and try to get as many listeners, watchers, readers, I don't know, on this as possible, so I can keep making them and you guys can keep winning some money. Thanks again, and I will see you all for podcast Sunday night with AJ Hoffman on pregame.com. So stay tuned for that.